Today I'm going to speak about a research I did since I'm living in Spain now. I was amazed by the rich history of the Andalusian and the Arab history in the Arabian Peninsula. And one of the topics was Aljamiado manuscripts, what are you seeing here in the screen. These manuscripts, if you look at them, you think they are Arabic, but if you read them, they sound Spanish. So here is an example. It says las lágrimas, which it means tears. And you can see that if you take the lam, sheen, it becomes lash, and then las in the new Spanish, and then lágrimas. I will not have time to go through all the investigation with it, but we looked at so many different pages. These are some of them. What is amazing about these manuscripts is that they are very vernacular. They're not as neat and as perfect as other manuscripts that were done by master calligraphers. These were more done by common people. And you can understand that when we are looking at these manuscripts, we are trying to understand these people, what they were doing or what they were thinking when they were writing this kind of manuscripts. And it's the idea, again, of analog that feeds into the digital. So here are some examples. Here are some examples of the letters that we took out from the manuscripts to understand these kind of letters. And then we need to analyze why they were written in this way for us to understand how we can digitize them in our modern day life. And of course, this is, again, the process of the connection between the eye, the hand, and the mind. And here are some of the sketches that I was doing that I'm trying to understand the different connections that were happening in this manuscript, or the different kind of letters that are not somehow visible in the classical calligraphic styles that we know nowadays. Like, this is different than the nasakh or the diwani, or it's a different kind of script altogether. And you can see that in this stage, what I'm trying to do is try to put myself in the place of the person that wrote this manuscript somehow 700 years ago, and I'm trying to understand how I can revive it from this phase. So here you can see in this slide, you can see on the left side or the right side, depending where you're sitting, is the sketch that I did, and on the other side is the outline. That was the exact letter that is present in the typeface. And you see that the analog is feeding directly the digital, and it's part of it. And without the analog, we cannot come up with these new shapes. These shapes are very clean, are very digital, but their essence and their soul, they come from the analog. And they come from this fast handwritten vernacular pen approach. And this is an example of the letter, the word fi, the fa and the ya letter. Here is the letter ha, which is one of the most complex letters in the Arabic character set. And you can see that we start with small sketches, then we go for bigger drawings, and then we go for more drawings, try to understand how we want to build the shape, and then based on this shape, we build the outlines. And if you look closely at the outlines, they are not the outlines only, they are also the within is happening. They are this overlap of the pen stroke. So even when I am on the computer and drawing by the pen, I'm still thinking of how the pen is moving in my mind, and I'm translating it into the digital version, which is clear here in the letter ha. Before, it is outlined in this shape. And then it doesn't end the analog. Once we decide and we draw and we print, then we look again at the letters and we analyze them, and we go again to the analog, and we give feedback to our mind that maybe the meme is not nice to be like this, or maybe the ya is too awkward, or maybe the noon is too open. Or what about making the ha closed? Or what about making the waw with a longer tail? So the process between the analog and the digital and the type design world is very basic. It's a process of going back and forth and understanding what we can fix until we get to this ultimate form. Here is the final set of Oskura and Okaso. These are two typefaces. Okaso means sunset or dusk, and Oskura means dark. And we did at the end two versions, one which is more based on geometry and one which is more based on the cursive approach, because we found that these are the two main parts of the script. You can see that they have the same feel and character, but one of them is more angular and the other is more organic or more fluid. So here in close up we have the scene, the organic scene, and the geometric one. We have the jim. Here we have the word damir, and we see how the dad meme ligature works, or the difference between the two scripts, the organic one and geometric one. Here we can see all the weights. So we work on the script, and also at the same time, because we're living in this multiple culture, and also because since this script was built even in Andalusia, there were different cultures also living together. There were the Christians and the Muslims and the Jews, and all of them, they were living together. And there were two scripts. There was the Latin and there was the Arabic. And also, Aljamiado is written in Arabic, but based on a language that came from the Latin script. So it's always this mix of cultures and language, which is super interesting and super nice. So I have to collaborate with a Latin type designer called Linda Hintz. And also she went on the briefing and on the design to understand what would be this Latin part that will echo this interesting Arabic typeface that I was doing. And she started sketching, and see here her very rough drawings and sketches made by basically the pen. And then we put the outline on top of it, and you can see that indeed the analog again fed perfectly the digital. And if you put the digital on top of the analog, of course it's not exactly the same, but they have the same essence, the same spirit. Here is the other A. Here we can see the G. Here the final shape of the G. So to go from the very rough sketches to the very final outlines, it takes weeks or even months of work. It's a very patient kind of work. And the past times, type design used to be a craft. We used to be like drawing type and cutting it into certain shapes and making it into metal, then printing it on paper. It was so mechanical. With our digital era, it's becoming more digital, but it will never lose its essence. And if it loses the essence of where the pen comes from, or how the hand is moving, or how this script should be written in, it will not have a spirit of itself as being only digital. Here you can see that Linda also is sketching on her own printouts, digital printouts, again to fix them and to check about how to do more different ligatures or contextual alternates or other stuff to make the Arabic and the Latin come together. Here also it's her kid, Annie. She decided to come in and do her own analog feedback for her. So here is her sketches. Working in COVID with our kids wasn't easy, but also it comes with its fun part. And here is the basic set of the Latin. If you put the Arabic and the Latin together, they will look somehow like the same family, but they are two different scripts. The Arabic is a completely different script than the Latin. But because Linda and I worked together trying to answer the same brief, the same design brief, but from two different scripts, we managed to come up with the idea that the Arabic and the Latin, they have the two forms, the very rigid geometric forms and the organic forms. You can see here the A geometric and the A cursive and the A open counter and close counter. This is a bit detailed typographic, but visually it's very clear. And again, we have to build the family, we have to build the weights. And then we were still questioning, like, Linda and I were still questioning, like, how can we make the Arabic and the Latin come even stronger together? And how can we even make the Latin echo more the Arabic? Like, we want to do most of the time, the Arabic fonts are done based on existing Latin typefaces. And our philosophy at 29 Letters to do Arabic and Latin from scratch that come together. And not even that, even to push it even further, to make the Latin even answer to the needs of the Arabic in some cases. And in this case, we noticed that in the manuscripts, some of the letters were being elongated horizontally, like the kaf, the sad, and other letters, they were elongated to fill the space. And this is common in the Arabic script. And also we use kashida, as you all know, when we have justified text. But here, we wanted to make this idea even further, and beside the kashida, we wanted to add the idea of the expandable, of the wide change of the letters. And we used the latest technology, which is the variable fonts technology, which is still a very young technology, to answer to this very old analog way of writing a certain kind of manuscript to fill a certain script. So again, here we go back to the idea like this jim, for example, it is stretching from being narrow to being super wide using the technology of variable font. And here you can see it in this script. So it is from thin to bold and from, not condensed, from normal to wide. And this also applied to the Latin, which comes later. But here you can see that we didn't apply this technique to all the letters because not all of them can be expanded. Only the ones that have a counter, and not only a counter, which has a close counter and it's horizontal. So for example, the sad and the tah and the belly of the ayn can be expandable. But for example, the meme and the ha and the waw, they cannot be expandable because if we expand them, they will lose connection with the essence of these manuscripts, and it will be just an expandable letter. So again, we were keen on only doing what was right and not applying the same technique on all the letters. So here you see the word al-khat handasa sa'ba. Without this is all fixed, and here you can see that we used the two techniques. We used the kashida and we use the elongated letters to allow these three words to be aligned perfectly. If we didn't have the vertical section, the kashidas will be much more longer, and it will look maybe a bit not as balanced as it is now. So here again, a longer text, and here you can see the kashidas and the extended text. And this also, we took it to the Latin. So we said, okay, we want to make the Latin echo the Arabic in this way also. Which letters in the Latin, we can expand them and make them link to the idea of the expandable letters and the kashida. And here you say, for example, the K, which is expanding in width and in weight. And here you can see in the yellow, which are the letters. So again, we had to be careful not to make all of them expand. We made a selection based on the language and based on the counter shapes. And we decided that these are the letters that are going to be expandable, and the others are not going to be expandable, because we wanted to have a balanced rhythm in the text. We don't want everything to be expandable and everything to be clean. So here you have the word calligraphy as the meadow of science. And here you can see that only the I, R, P, and F, I, E were expanded, but the others not. But this was enough to allow that this sentence be fully justified without having any extra space, or what we call in typography, typographic rivers. Here you can see a long text, and here you can see how the M and the H and the ligature TI and others were expanded. And this links directly to the Arabic. So here we have the kaf and the K. So we have two scripts answering to the same design brief, using the latest technology in type design, and inspired from the analog work that was done hundreds of years ago. And here are both of them together, and you see how harmonious they are together. Here also the difference of change, and also even Linda went a bit further to say that I want to make a code. She wrote a code that made the letters change between round and square based on what happens before and after them. So you can see that there's a square A and a round A, and there's a square L and a round L, and there's a square R and a round R, and depending on how you are writing, the font will decide automatically where to put what, and not to put so many square letters after each other, or not to put so many round letters after. It will mix them, and this mix makes the Latin even come closer to the Arabic. And she even went further. She said that I want to make the capitals go lower than the baseline. Not because in Arabic we don't have capitals, as we don't have italics. And how can you make the capitals in the Arabic and the Latin not be as big as if it was used in the Arabic? So she did a special stylistic set where there's an option that the user or the designer can decide to shift down all the capitals, and this made all of these type options make it easy for the person using the typeface to pick and to choose what best fits the project that he or she is working on. But to do that, we ended up doing a lot of ligatures, a lot of stylistic sets, a lot of coding, and then here you see all of the character sets. And at the end, we even looked again more about the manuscript, and we inspired from even more ligatures, and we tried to add them, but we couldn't add all of them. And at the end of it, and after making all, this is like only like a teaser of what would be the coding, but there's a lot of coding and little got of this digital work that we cannot speak about in this talk. And the character set at the end for Okaso and Oskura ended up being more than 2,100 for Okaso and 2,600 glyphs for Oskura. And this is for one typeface, and it took us 2 years to work on it. Of course, not 2 years constantly working 8 hours every day, 2 years in the confinement and with the kids at home and with being parents and cooking and all of this. But it took 2 years. And at the end, this is the typeface that you last see. So this is Okaso, and this also is Okaso. And this is Oskura, which is more the cursive one. And again, it says the pen is the envoy of the mind. And again, we go back to the idea of the pen, and the eye, and the mind, and the analog and the digital. And I would like to say that it's very important as students and as experienced professionals to always keep the pen and the paper on your desk, in your everyday work. Never go directly to digital, or never start any project directly on a screen. Do it first on a paper and evolve it and evolve it and evolve it until you really exhaust all of your ideas on paper, and then go to the screen. Because then it will build much more better your project, and it will make it much more stronger as a concept and as a creative part. And if you're interested to know more about 29 letters, there's some booklets in the gift shop. There's 2 nice booklets about our philosophy. You can get your hands on. You can get your copies from. And also, I have with me some small pamphlets, posters. So now on the break, if you're interested, come speak to me, and I can hand you one. And thank you for listening. Thank you for Ithra, and thank you for all the team.